Happy Friday, everyone. It's Fangirl Friday. And yes, this is Fangirl Friday Live. And my name's Anita Castellar. And we're back with another great episode. If you've been with us before, thank you for spending your time with us before. And if this is your first time, then welcome. And I hope you get to enjoy your time with us and learn something new. And drop us a chat, everybody. Drop us a line while you're listening in. Want to talk about a little bit more about manga and anime. We've been doing a little bit of a series on that recently. And, I want to now introduce my really good friend, Alexander. Alexander, you're from VIZ Media, right?
Yes, VIZ Media. Happy Friday, everybody.
So every week, Alexander, we talk about fandom and unlocking the brands and unlocking the fandom and the business behind it and who's there, right? And so you're one of the people that actually works on, some really great brands, some really interesting information that you have been working on. But before we get to that, I want to actually talk to you about you and have you introduce yourself to the world. So tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got to where you are.
Yeah, sure. I would say that, wow, where to start? Okay, so I would say that I went to school originally as a computer engineer. And I hated that life. Like I kind of was forced into it because my folks, you got to be an engineer. And this, when I was going to college, it was kind of during, the dot-com boom. So that was the hot, cool thing, right? It's either become a doctor, lawyer, or engineer. So I hated it. And coming out of college, I worked at a company that was Applied Materials, which is a capital equipment manufacturer. They sell big capital equipment to the likes of Intel to make semiconductors. It sounds super interesting, I know, but my role was to create a CRM database, which wasn't called that at the time. And this is decades before Salesforce and all of that. So I had to manage a team of engineers and actually create a CRM database from scratch that was proprietary to Applied. I hated my life. I absolutely hated my life. And it was one of those things where, I look at my folks who spent 30, 40 years at their job, and I kind of just looked at myself and said, there's no way I could do this for 40 years.
Right.
And it became one of those things where you said, if you love something, you're not really working, right? You're playing. And it really came down to my passions. So my background's a little bit unique. So I'm born and raised in San Francisco, but I spent some time overseas in Taiwan. I lived with my grandparents there, and I was introduced to fandoms like Dragon Ball and Doraemon. I lived in Taiwan, and Taiwan is very Japanese influenced in terms of like the pop culture and everything. Right. So when I came to the States, and keep in mind, I grew up in the 80s, so that was the time when I would call it the golden age of like licensed, properties, right?
That phrase actually pops up a lot. Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Yeah, I was gonna take credit for coining it, but I guess I shouldn't do that. But it was He-Man, G.I. Joe, Superman was near and dear to me. Christopher Reeve, of course, Spider-Man, and then of course, and I eventually grew up into Ninja Turtles, But during my high school time, I was very heavily influenced by DC and Marvel, and of course, Image Comics. So I collected all the Marvel cards, every issue. At one point, I could honestly say I had every issue of Image.
Wow.
when the company actually was created in '92, right? And that was easy because there was only like maybe 6 titles at that time. But that stayed with me, and a lot of people really underestimate passion, so I would say the number one thing whenever I interview someone is I look for their passion. You could train hard skills, right? You could teach someone email marketing, you could teach someone a finance, right? And all that, but you can't teach someone passion. Like, let's just say I'll use Naruto as an example. Hey, learn it today. Well, you got 700 plus episodes, go, okay.
Which I have been trying to plow through, by the way, but yeah.
Yeah, but I would say that a fandom for me is what I bring to the table is a lifetime of consuming this content. So I'm in a unique position where I could say I'm a fan of what I do, and I am the community that I'm trying to target. So that's something that you can't just bring like anyone to the table, and you can't fake it. So
No.
I would say, yeah. So my number one, I think, quality, and I would say that I highlighted in my job interview with Viz, is that I'm a big passion. Yeah, especially with like Dragon Ball and everything. And the ongoing joke is that, well, and I learned this way after I joined Viz, is I actually joined Viz because I went online and I saw that they had published Dragon Ball, and I'm like, whoa, I get to work with Dragon Ball. One of the first fandoms that I fell in love with, and it wasn't until I joined I realized that they only publish the manga and they don't have the consumer package rights. So I'm like, oh
boy.
man. So,
Oh boy.
so yeah. So it's kind of, I love my job. I get to still play with Dragon Ball on the manga side, but no, I'm not doing licensing for.
I love that picture that we used for the social media announcement with you and your son. That's so cool.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And that is my boy. I want to pass on my passions to my boy, and it's been Dragon Ball near and dear to me in my heart. And it's something that everyone here tuning in will probably understand. Like, how do you, my boy loves Spider-Man too. He loves Ninja Turtles, right? So, the apple don't fall far from the tree.
Yeah. And either way, whatever you love, your passion, your fandom, I mean, like literally you could be a fan of like Martha Stewart, and everybody thinks, that's funny that I use that example, like Martha Stewart as a fandom, but there are almost cultish level followings of Martha Stewart and what she stands for and her products and stuff. But regardless of brand or fandom, a lot of that turns into multi-generational, where people, are the fans, and then they pass it on to the next level generation, whether it be your child or your niece or nephew. You're usually sharing the love and the passion with someone else of the next level generation. You want to share that with them. You want to be part of a community. Those are common themes, commonalities that are regardless of brand or property. So you're kind of hitting on it, with your own life. And we live it here too in our household as well. There's a lot of various retro brands, retro now because we're older, but retro brands that we share. And now that the kids have been introduced to them, they take it on, or they might not take it on, but it's kind of fun that you can sit and have conversations around things that we're all passionate about. I think that's pretty neat.
It's a religion, right? And if you want to look at it from another angle, so growing up in San Francisco in the 80s, I'm a Niners fan. How can you not be, right? But if my son comes up to me and says he's a Dallas Cowboys fan, that's a no-no. That's an absolute no-no, right? So it's in Giants and Warriors, so my son will pass those on. It's almost a religion. So that's just a kind of, for those that are not quite fandom, fans or passionate about, entertainment like this, but just look at sports. You see this in different industries.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I talked to someone recently, Christina Braxton, where her fandom is actually makeup, like all kinds of fashion brands and makeup brands and stuff. And it's just whatever your thing is, you become passionate around that, and you want to share the knowledge and share the information. But so let's dive in a little bit more into VIZ Media. And you were talking about how you had the perception that you came into it, right, of thinking, oh, it's going to be one thing, and they really don't have those rights, and they have the manga rights. So talk to us a little bit about VIZ Media's history and who they are in this space, and also what's the difference between manga and anime?
Yes. So VIZ Media, I won't be surprised if a lot of people don't know who we are, because we're not a consumer-facing brand, right? Not like, say, Amazon or Netflix. We're just not in people's mental real estate in that way. So VIZ Media, actually, we're owned by 3 Japanese companies. And we are kind of looked at as the American offshoot. We started off in the 80s in San Francisco as primarily a publishing house for manga. For those that don't know what manga is, it is the equivalent of a Japanese comic book. So one of our parent companies is Shueisha. If you don't know who they are, they publish a weekly magazine called Shonen Jump. It's okay if you don't know what Shonen Jump is, but in Japan, it is the marvel of essentially Asia. Any anime you've ever heard of, or Japanese title, I would say Dragon Ball to My Hero to Death Note to Naruto to Bleach, it's all a Shonen Jump title published by Shueisha. So our job, VIZ Media, was to essentially take the manga book content and localize it within the English-speaking markets. And then eventually we got into anime. And what is anime? Anime is essentially an animated feature that is inspired by the source material, which is manga. So the example I'll give to you is, say, Stan Lee created Spider-Man, right? And he drew a comic, but now Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and you know, all of that, right? So it's two different properties, but you know, one is the source material. The other one is essentially the movie adaptation. So anime is the animated show adaptation of the manga book. Not all the time in terms of the content is adapted. So certain times there's original content that is created that's unique and exclusive for the show. So VIZ Media, we acquired essentially anime rights for certain titles, you know, most notably Naruto in the back here, which we're celebrating obviously the 20th anniversary. But it's kind of, in terms of anime rights, it's very similar to, well, I keep going back to the Marvel comparison, how Marvel movies rights were just splintered about a decade ago, right? So how X-Men was really with, I believe, 21st Century Fox. I mentioned Spider-Man with, you know, Sony. Each studio did their own, and it's kind of splintered that way. So, you know, Dragon Ball is not with VIZ, you know, to my knowledge now, but it's with somebody else, while we have, you know, Naruto, Bleach, One Punch Man, Death Note, Inuyasha for the North and South America territories. And then I have counterparts in Europe, in Asia, that will have the rights to the same titles. So it's very complex, and you can imagine the approvals and contracts get very complicated. So there's a lot of juggling, a lot of like spinning plates, and making sure that all the ducks are just lined up in a row in a particular partnership, especially global partnerships like the ones we've done for Year of Naruto.
Yeah. That's pretty complicated. I mean, it's because of the splintering and stuff, but I think you guys do a pretty good job at kind of keeping a consistent feel, you know, where the characters are the characters, whether they be in Europe or in Latin America or here in the US. You know, I was just watching another Netflix documentary where it was like Spider-Man, you know, it was on Disney Plus, but where Spider-Man in Japan was completely different.
The Toei one. Yeah. Oh, I love that
The Marvel
one.
616 was like, whoa, I never knew any of this stuff existed, but at least it feels consistent, you know, where if your characters are Inuyasha, it's the same Inuyasha everywhere, right? So I think that's cool.
Yeah, I would say there are some very different business practices with Japanese titles versus Western ones. So, and I can say that because I am the subject matter expert, you know, of Western properties at VIZ. And this goes back to the whole passion, you know. So when I was hired, I was led to believe that I was the one to kind of be the expert, you know, boots on the ground stateside. Because in Japan, they rely on VIZ.
Being an expert.
Well, that's totally easy. We're talking about fandoms. In Japan, they don't really know what US culture, you know, is like, or how they really consume, or, you know, how people interact, or communities, or, you know, what's really done, right? So, so what I brought to VIZ is the ability to kind of look at properties and marketing business practices that US titles do, because I'm so familiar with it. And one of the things that I was most inspired by, being a Star Wars fan and geek, is May the 4th, right?
Yeah.
Which is the cultural celebration of all things Star Wars. And to me, I celebrate it every year. But you know, if you want to look at what Disney and Lucas are doing, it is essentially making Star Wars relevant again when there's no new content coming out.
Yeah.
You know,
May the 4th, fun fact, May the 4th started as a fan holiday, like an unofficial thing.
Wow.
Oh, I don't know if you knew this or not, but yeah.
No.
It was actually, you know, it was a play on words. It was, you know, all the fans would get together on their own. And they, you know, Lucasfilm and Disney didn't start making kind of like a really big deal about it. And for a while, one, because they have a really good relationship with their fans, and they don't want to tread on them like the man and, you know, all that kind of stuff, and let them have fun with it. But yeah, the fans were the one. It's a total grassroots celebration. The fans were the ones that started it, and they would say, "May the Fourth be with you," you know, every year, and wish each other a wonderful May the Fourth. And they even do, you know, like the fifth, you know, Revenge of the Fifth, as opposed to Revenge of the Sith, right, on the next day. So, you know, the good guys get to play, the bad guys get to play. But yeah, and then after a while, you know, I was at, you know, Disney and Lucasfilm and all of that, and that's where we started to kind of say, well, maybe we want to play along as well with the fans, and give them opportunities to celebrate together. And so through licensing or through marketing activations or what have you, it's like, it's really just creating a space for fans to celebrate what they love. And I'm glad that you're participating in it every year.
Totally. Yeah. And the thing about that is it also gives your licensees and your retail partners a reason to bring content back.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And for me, I remember the lull of the original series, the original trilogy into the prequel. Like, I had no content. You know, so
I mean, remastered and redigitized. You didn't love
like
those?
The special editions. Yeah, no, I mean, I of course I watched it 1,000 times, but
yeah,
it wasn't like how people are spoiled today with Mandalorian and everything. But back then there was just years of no content, and then of course after the prequel trilogy was done, there was just years that go by. But of course they filled it in with animated series. But what do you do when there's a lull, right? So fans need to start their own parties.
Exactly.
But to retail partners and to licensees, it's essentially answering the question of what's new with this brand. And so the unique thing about Japanese anime is we don't typically do things that US titles do, like reboot the franchise. That is not a thing. So the source material, and also another thing about Japanese titles, they kind of end. You know, so it's one of those things where, like, wait, why would you just kill a cash cow? Like, I don't understand that, you know. But that's very cultural, very unique. Where
there's a natural life cycle to things. There's a beginning and there's an end.
There's an end, and then you appreciate it more that way, you know, as opposed to someone that's immortal, right? Which, you know, has its good and bad, but. Something has to be loved and it has to be missed. You know, it has to have a dear place in your heart. Right. So Naruto, you know, had Naruto Classic Shippuden, which is part 1, part 2 in the manga side, and it ended. It's over, which is great for the core fans. So retail is going to ask the question, well, why would I want to stock Naruto products when it's done? I don't know, maybe 3-4 years ago. Right. What makes it relevant now? And that was a tough question for me to deal with when I started at VIZ. So
you pulled from your history though, right? Because you didn't start in, I mean, you came from a video game background, is that right?
Yes. Glad you brought that up. So going back to Applied Materials when I was, you know, hating my life and reevaluating my life decisions, right? It really I was like, what do I want to do? And of course, me participating in all these fandoms of video games was near and dear to my heart. So fun fact, I played the Famicom prior to the SNES, right? So I was in Taiwan. My grandfather bought me my first Famicom. And that's when I played Mario Brothers and everything that's classic now, before it even made it to the States as Nintendo. So like, you know, that's my gamer nerd badge right there. You know, that's my credibility. I thought about my childhood, and for anybody that's reevaluating your life, and that, you know, you get plenty of time to do it in this pandemic, just really think about what brought you joy. And I went to the place in my childhood when I was just sitting on the floor playing Mario Brothers with my grandfather in Taiwan. And I can't think of any other time I was happier. So being in the Bay Area, EA was local. So I was lucky enough to start with the EA Play label as an assistant marketing manager. So what that means is there was a Play label which was casual games, which was called casual at that time. And I did all the go-to-market strategies for the Hasbro line. So we had, at that time, it was a Hasbro partnership where we took all the classic board games like Scrabble, you know, Monopoly, Risk.
That's the game night promotions, right?
Family game,
campaign, family game night.
Family game night. Yeah, if you have that game, which I highly doubt that you do. My name is in the credits.
I used to work at Hasbro, so I might have that game.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So, and also at that time, we had this revolutionary delivery system that no one heard of, right? It's now it's called Xbox Live. So you working with first party, being Xbox and of course Sony and we. How do we get increased digital downloads or just Xbox Live Arcade and PlayStation Plus and all of that? So that was my step into the video game world. Then there was so I was in grad school at that time. I was doing night classes, and once I graduated, there was a position open in global brand partnerships, which I had to just jump into. So a lot of that was integrations in the game. So just think about when you play, let's just say a game like Battlefield, or even Call of Duty, and you go to, let's just say Walmart, and then you buy a bag of Doritos or Mountain Dew and there's a code under the cap. We did a lot of those integrations where we'll provide digital codes for purchases of consumer product, right? And of course, there's in-game integrations. One of my favorite projects I've ever worked on was launching the Toyota Prius in The Sims 3.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was the Prius, Prius version 3. Prius 3 launched in The Sims 3. And one of my
Marketing
first roles,
gold.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. It was having the Prius debut at E3 with a plumb bob green diamond on top, right? So that having the car available in the game. So understanding, well, first off, you'll probably think to yourself, what does Toyota have to do with The Sims? And the answer probably is nothing, but in your first glance, but it's that's when I really first heard the term psychographics. People keep talking about demos, but psychographics, it lined up. Like it's a community that not necessarily the same age, same gender, or even but their interests align.
Can cross over.
Can cross over, and they found that the psychographics of Sims players and Prius being that very eco-friendly, sleek design, just fun, different, a look, really meshed well. So that was one of my favorite projects I've ever worked on. Shout out to Steve Siebold, by the way. He was my my boss at that time. He really got me into that. But licensing actually started in that role because we did licensing for The Sims.
Right.
So and also there was a kind of like a spin-off called My Sims, which is kind of like The Sims Junior, and we try to have like an ensemble cast. It lasted for I want to say 5 to 6 games, so we did licensing for that. One of the cool things that we did was we had My Sims as a Taco Bell toy, so that was pretty fun.
That's pretty fun.
And so
so you took some of that information though, right? Like those psychographics and the overlaps and the ideas, and brought that to Naruto, right?
Of course, yeah. But EA, I want to say I spent like good 7-8 years of my life there. After global brand partnerships, I went into EA Entertainment and Licensing, which is a division that was run by Pat O'Brien when he was there, and that's when I got my break in licensing with brand partnerships, but now I'm on the varsity team. So
that was varsity.
That was such a good time in my life. I was working with EA Sports, Battlefield, Mass Effect. Oh God, I love BioWare titles. Worked with Dragon Age. Worked with FIFA,
good properties.
Madden. Oh my God, yeah. And I was a fan, especially with Mass Effect. And when the trilogy came, I got all the achievements in the game, but I didn't do it because I was required to. I did it because I was a fan. I loved it.
Right.
And really being on the ground level and expecting the same thing that everybody else does out of the game and being able to deliver in the form of consumer products and making people happy was amazing. One of my first license deals within the new division, EA Entertainment and Licensing, was a company called Kotobukiya.
Those are great people.
They're awesome people.
Shout out to Mr. Nakamura.
Yeah, it was. Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
We did a Liara figure based off the shoujo line,
Mm.
and I loved how this one. If I could take a second to explain, I love how this played out because we had so the shoujo line. If people that don't know, they take a very famous Japanese artist, and he'll redraw your character into
Yeah.
like a cute style, very
I think it
anime
means
looking.
pretty girl, doesn't it? Like
Pretty, it means
Bishojo
pretty
means, yeah,
girl,
yeah, yeah.
pretty girl, and then they'll take the pretty sketch and make it into a life-sized figure. So the problem is it's certainly done with it has different appeal, right? There's the so what happened with the Liar figure is that her proportions were kind of off, and the fans just kind of lost it. Like, whoa, she's not supposed to look, so top heavy versus in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And but the reason why they found out, because I really wanted to have that transparency with the fans, so we released behind the scenes, the molds, the factory
You got to bring them
images
along on the journey.
on the journey, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook. And the fans, because of their feedback, really shaped the development of the figure. So we of course we made everything proportional, and it launched. And I remember a week after it launched, I went onto eBay, and that figure I believe sells for $69.99, right? And, was going for upwards between $300 to $500.
Yeah.
And then that was because it became kind of like a story piece. It didn't represent just a figure,
Right.
because we gave the unprecedented access behind the scenes and involving the fans. Back in the day, it was called Web 2.0. All right, that was actually a thing, right? But now it's involving the fans in the whole journey. They're vested and they believe
But
in
nothing
it.
what we do is necessarily just that thing, right? Like an action figure is not just an action figure, or a t-shirt's not really just a t-shirt, essentially. I mean, to your point of what you said several times, and I love that, is like, it's the point of bringing joy. It's an opportunity. I always call it as an opportunity to engage and have a dialogue with your fans, right? So we're in licensing or manufacturing or what have you, when we're working on these projects, they're really opportunities to have a touch point with the fans, and also we're giving them tools to be able to celebrate and enjoy their fandom their way at the time that they want to do it, where they want to do it, right? And so that's how I view licensing, and that's how I view the things that we all work on, as like that, like kind of dialogue and interaction with the fans, and also gives them a tool to celebrate what they love. And that's what you've been doing too.
Well, totally. And the thing with the Mass Effect Kotobukiya figure, now that I think about it, I actually took a page out of Todd McFarlane's book. So when I was, and this is back when I was collecting, Spawn comics, when Todd created McFarlane Toys, he did behind the scenes photos of his factories in the Spawn comic. And I remember that, like, I didn't get to see this with Spider-Man or Superman. Marvel didn't do that. But Todd McFarlane made me believe in his journey, and believe in Spawn because he involved me. Right. And that was something that always stuck with me. Like, if you involve the fans, they would actually do your job better than you. Yeah. So the fans actually own.
They become brand ambassadors. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just like what you say about May the 4th, right? Being a fan-generated thing. They might have better ideas than you, So you just have to listen to them, and giving that dialogue, involving them, is more important.
Yeah. So let's shift it into the Naruto, like you're saying, bringing the joy in the fans and celebrating that. So we're celebrating his 20th anniversary, and you have some great ideas. And I've noticed that, you've been taking, I don't know if it's just you or the team, you can tell us, has been taking more of an approach, which I think is unusual, that when we see it in manga or anime properties, right? Where number one, there's an anniversary, and number two, there's a lot more collaborations in brands. I think that's kind of a cool new thing too.
Yeah. So compared to Western properties, anniversaries are celebrated very differently overseas. So the idea, I really want to do Naruto 20th, but in Japan, they actually didn't look at it as a celebration of the franchise. They actually looked at it as, this is the date that Naruto was first published in Shonen Jump.
Right.
Hence, this is the Manga Anniversary.
Okay.
So why are we making anime product? It doesn't make sense. You know, people look at, they celebrate, it's very compartmentalized anniversaries. So in stateside, it'll be like, instead of 30 years of, you know, let's just say Spider-Man, we're celebrating 30 years of Spider-Man in the comic, but we're going to cut it off right there. You don't get action figures, you don't get cartoons, nothing new. We're only celebrating here with our manga, you know, or comic fans. You know, no one else is allowed to the party, right? And that's not how we do it here in the States, you know? So like I mentioned Spider-Man 30 because I remember that time, you know, that was the 3 holographic covers, you know, that was Marvel cards, that was the animation, the show, you know, that was everything, you know, that was, you know, costumes. So for me, I really wanted to focus on a growth strategy when I came to this. The one thing I realized that within our verticals, you know, so publishing itself is consistent, right? So within VIZ, one of our bigger businesses, of course, is, you know, publishing the manga content. However, you know, print is not, I don't want to say dying, but it's not growing. You know, people are going digital these days, which is why, of course, we have the Shonen Jump app. So you could, you know, go in and kind of read back issues, right? But print is still very much a big part of the manga culture. People still go out and want to own and collect. So that's still good business for us, but that's still very much the core, hardcore demographic. The other part of our business with anime is home video, which is not growing either, you know, with the proliferation of streaming services, right? We also do streaming, you know, our contracts, and we also do broadcast with, you know, with Cartoon Network. But the home video is still a big part of our business, but it's still not growing as we like it to. And it's very, I would say it's very core demographic as well compared to the manga fans. So, you know, coming from the States, I mean, I love parties. Who doesn't love the party, right? And the main thing is, well, how do we make this party bigger? You know, how do I don't want to just party with the same 5 friends I see every weekend. I want this to be a rager, you know, and that became the theme of Year of Naruto, which is Naruto's for everyone. You know, how do we make Naruto relevant for those that are not anime fans? Right. You may know Naruto. You know, you might know the comic or seen it or know the image. You might recognize
the image. Right?
Yeah,
like somebody knows that headband.
Yeah, you might recognize them, but it might not be enough for you to dive in. Right. Right. So what you really need is a friend to come over and be like, yo, check this out. You will like this. You need someone to co-sign this for you because, you know, in Japan, Naruto could be king, right? Anime could be king. But in the stateside, you're in the same league as Superman, who's been around for 80 plus years, right? And Spider-Man and all these big budget movies and Marvel, Disney, and every Walking Dead.
So you need a friend to boost it up.
Yeah, you need someone that could co-sign this content for you to make it relevant for you, or to at least just check it out. Because why would I check it out at all? Right. Which led to us really tapping into collab culture, which is huge right now. You know, everyone's doing, you know, double brand, you know, as they call it in Japan, or mashups. You know, collab is huge. So, launching Year of Naruto, the plan itself was not just going to be localized to a manga celebration. We got the final approval overseas to actually even leverage this manga logo as the official 20th logo. And VIZ Media, we drove the Year of Naruto stateside, right? And that led, what it's supposed to be is 1 year's worth of activities. Every month we will announce some sort of engagement, product drop, you know, awesome. Something cool to keep Naruto relevant and pop in the party just nonstop for every month of all.
I think you sent us, like, the first one was with Michael B. Jordan, right? And Coach.
Yes.
That's
that
awesome.
was a fun one. That was a fun
we can show
one.
some of that.
Yeah, for sure. for the launch, we started with Coach, and it was launched at New York Comic Con on 10/10, which is Naruto Day. It's because in the anime it is his birthday. I would love to take credit for that, but I can't. It's actually was around before I joined. I want to say at first glance, the Coach partnership doesn't really make sense to a lot of people. Like, why Coach? Why Naruto? Why American like traditional leatherworks brand? Why does that make sense with a Japanese title? And it's because it's genuine, it's authentic. So a year or two prior to us doing the collab, they signed on a new ambassador of Michael B. Jordan. And a year later, they asked him, "Hey, Mike, what do you want to do for your first collection?" And hands down, he said, "I want to do Naruto."
Wow, that's amazing.
So it's and there's no other reason. That was the main reason. He wanted to do it, and that was final. Let's turn it around. Let's just say I was in the same position. If someone says, "Hey, we want to feature an Alexander C. Lee collection with whatever brand, what do you want to do?" I'm not gonna say, "Oh, this or that." I'm probably gonna say Dragon Ball. I want to do Dragon Ball, right? I want to do any of the titles I mentioned earlier on this live stream. I want to do DC Marvel. I want to do Ninja Turtles. That is what affected me in my life. It led me to here. For Mike, all of anime was a huge part of his life.
That's awesome.
Like, for example, he loved Naruto, of course, right? So a lot of the learnings, he was a big part of him. But, in the movie Black Panther, the Killmonger outfit was inspired by Vegeta.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's so much of that is ingrained in his personality. Right. Why wouldn't he want to do Naruto? So we launched it, in an awesome way. We did a ramen pop-up shop, because if you know Naruto, he loves the Ichiraku ramen, and we featured the collection there, and we launched it at New York Comic Con. And that was great, because the whole goal of itself was a growth strategy. How do we tap into a different demo? And with Coach and Mike, they were the co-signers to say, "Hey,
you got
guys,
like 2 different demos right there."
Yeah, we got 2, right? "Hey guys, this Naruto thing, you're sleeping on it.
Yeah.
Like, check it out. This is what's up," right?
That's awesome.
The next month, we announced our Primitive Skate Naruto collab, right? And it's there's it's getting.
Those skateboards are awesome. Yeah. I love those.
We have some cool unreleased stuff. We actually had to extend Year of Naruto until Q1 of next year, because obviously COVID kind of ended all of
Put a damper on stuff.
on all the fun, right? There was no Anime Expo this year, no San Diego, no New York, and we have so much exclusive product.
Actually, sorry to interrupt you, but we actually have a question from the chat, and that might go with what you're saying now, which is, what happened with the Adidas collaboration? So if you have any information, maybe did that get pushed out because of COVID, or?
Yeah, it got pushed out. It's kind of, and what's really difficult is a lot of the partnerships, you think that it's only the launch strategy that got pushed, but COVID actually affected us way prior to that, right? So there's supply chain issues, and even before it hit the States, the world was dealing with, COVID.
Factories were shutting down.
Yeah, factories were shutting down. So a lot
were shutting down.
Yeah. So a lot of orders, unfortunately, were not fulfilled, or, and of course, retailers had to cancel. And that's just to kind of keep your business alive.
Yeah.
So it's a combination, I would say, combination of that, but a combination of also companies having to reorg their businesses,
reprioritize some stuff.
And I know quite a few people that have been furloughed, so that just means that there's not a lot of headcount actually working on the necessary projects, so there are many projects.
So is that going to come out soon? Is that, so should we look for that, or?
I would say stay tuned. You never know.
Right.
I don't want to overextend myself, but there there are, I could tell you that even after Q1 of next year, where right now I'm dealing with how do we keep Naruto relevant after year of Naruto, right? Like, you know, so we're still going to continue all the collabs, and I would say that probably the more exciting collabs are going to happen in 2021.
Well,
and
there you go,
leading
folks.
into
You heard it
2022.
here. Stay tuned.
Yeah,
There's going to be some more info coming.
definitely. One other thing I want to highlight is another strategy I really wanted to employ for Year of Naruto is really piggybacking off of like a cultural moment, right? So one thing I've noticed, and I want to say, celebrity types changed a lot within the past few decades, right? For me, growing up, it was all about sports. It was about Michael Jordan and Shaq for me. Michael Jordan, for me, made me watch Looney Tunes with Space Jam.
Oh, funny. Okay.
Right. He made Looney,
so he introduced
like, me,
you to Looney Tunes, basically.
Yeah, I wasn't going to watch. I thought, Bugs Bunny, he's so soft. I can't do it. No. Michael Jordan loves Bugs Bunny, and he played ball with him. Right. So, okay, you know what? I'm gonna check out Looney Tunes. Right. And Big Shaq, like, he got Superman tatted on his arm. Right? And so for me, it made it really, well, I would say back in the day, it wasn't cool to be a nerd. You know, you could kind of get bullied, get beat up, right? But these celebrities made it cool. It made me want to wear it outside and be, you know, and not be ashamed of it.
Right.
And that is a big strategy that we're doing.
No stigma.
Yeah, no stigma. And if MBJ is rocking Naruto, you know, like, who else is going to say anything, right?
Right.
So we're really going to lean into, I don't want to call it influencer marketing, because it just sounds unauthentic.
Corporate.
Yeah. It sounds very corporate, right? I just want, it's like a really good Yelp review. You know? So I want you to co-sign that, right? And we want to switch up the platform too, because anime, and I tell everyone this, whenever you sign a license prior to this for anime, you kind of already know where you buy the products, right? You Hot Topic, Box Lunch, you know, and I call this the anime bubble. When you do a collab and you talk to a different group, you're not only working with their community and their demo, you're working with their retailers, their media, their marketing team. So because of the Coach deal, we got mentioned in Complex, you know, Hypebeast, which was, they did a feature for us, right? And Hypebeast, you know, and in working with Primitive, we got Naruto in Zoomies, which were not traditionally stocked. Right. You know, so
so a lot of skate shops picked up the product, probably.
Exactly. And it's not just about retailers; it's about media. So one cool thing that we did is really looking into authentic fans. And Israel Adesanya is UFC middleweight champion, undefeated. Huge Naruto fan. If you don't know who he is, Google him. He has a Naruto the seal tattoo on his body.
Oh wow! Does he have a belly button?
Yeah, on the belly button. He named his car Kurama, right? Because it's orange, right? So he does Naruto moves. Huge anime fan. Signs a death note in the cage before KOing people.
That's amazing.
Amazing guy, right? Shout out to Paradigm Sports. So working with him, making it authentic, is very important. But it's working with Israel that got us covered by Sports Center, ESPN, right? How else would anime live on ESPN other than having someone co-sign him, right? Not only that, he wore one of our collabs, our Hypeline collab, at weigh-ins. So the moment right before the fight where all media is zooming in on the face-off, Dana White separating them.
There's your shirt.
You see the Akatsuki shirt, right? The cloud with him rocking the UFC gold, right? The belt.
That's pretty cool.
And then for everyone, it's great because you have UFC fight fans discovering anime for the first time because you have a cool guy in the form of Izzy co-signing with the fight crowd. But for us, us anime fans or fandoms, we see an Akatsuki member fighting in the UFC.
That's one of us. That's one of our people. Yeah.
I'm going to rock my gear out in public now, unashamed, because if that guy could do it and make it cool, I'm
Exactly.
gonna do it. I'm no longer ashamed. I'm gonna wear loud and proud, right? And that's what it is. It's making Naruto for everyone, and all I want to do is make a bigger party.
So you got in sports, you've got in movie, movie star. I think you even have an EDM star, right?
Yeah, of course. Dinma collab, Steve Aoki's record label and brand. That was authentic as well. So Steve is he writes his own manga.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I knew about his brand, but I didn't know that he was writing his own manga. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, Neon Future. It's a name of his album, but also some of his content. But he's a Naruto fan. He's an anime fan. He loves everything. So it became natural. The collab itself is supposed to be a single drop, but it did so well. We're going to look into doing more with Dinmok, the brand. Not just Naruto, with all the other anime titles in our portfolio.
That'd be great.
So music, I would say music is definitely another area that we really want to get into.
Well, there's such good music. I'm so sorry to tell, but that's a topic that we talk about all the time in my family, where the music and a lot of the content, a lot of the anime stories and stuff. This particular in Naruto, actually, there's a few. Uncle Iroh's song just breaks everybody up, but that's incredible because it brings you into the emotion. It tells a story. It brings back a moment in time. I mean, who doesn't have, a flashback in their life when they hear a certain song and it takes them back to a certain period in their life or what they were doing when they heard that song on the radio or what have you. And I think just overall, you guys, if you were to get into it, that would be amazing. And even I get inspired by some of the anime soundtracks or the music, and I'm using it while I'm working out. Right. Because I feel I'm I'm channeling My Hero Academia, and I'm today is my plus ultra day. Right. And I'm going at it. And, and Naruto has amazing music as well. And that's such a strong emotional hook. Right. And for all of the fandoms, that's the big, strong piece that makes people care, is the emotion, right? So why do you care about something, and what's about this story or this character? And then when you have a piece of, music that goes with it, that's just the icing on the cake there for any fan.
Oh, totally. Mm-hmm. And I love how you brought that up, because for you, it's probably My Hero, right? For me,
most recently, but Naruto makes a guest appearance in there too.
You'll love mine. You'll absolutely love mine. For me, my gym music back in the day was Ninja Turtles Ninja Rap, Vanilla Ice. Oh, that was my jam. Oh, you get out of the way. You get out of the way when that happens. And the other song that I blasted right before every football game, privately, of course, was the Mortal Kombat.
The best.
Team.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Out of the way. I'm unstoppable.
What martial arts tournament would not be complete without the Mortal Kombat theme?
Oh, of course.
So,
of course, yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to my instructor, Joel Perez, by the way, where we would, have, all these Taekwondo. I was a Taekwondo parent, and my kids were in it, and I was actually taking classes. And this is a side note, but point is that, the emotional hook and bringing all those things together and bringing it out into the real world. We were in tournaments, and the kids were doing their pumses and their forms or what have you, right up against the Mortal Kombat music and all these other, Maria and all these, hip hop songs and stuff. But it's really about mashing all your stuff together and all your loves together. And it was a really great time, great period. So shout out, Joel. But back to the anime and, how we get inspired by it. I think that's the love, that's the joy. It brings us joy in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. And talking about other communities that we want to tap into or mash up, of course, like I mentioned earlier, one of my loves is video games. Mm-hmm. So really tapping into the video game culture is something I want to explore with anime. And just from our basic research, we found that there's almost a 1-to-1 correlation of the anime fan and the esports gamer type, right? So so expect more esports video game inspired collaborations in the future. I would also say another cool thing that we did for Year of Naruto was mashups of different IPs. So the one that's absolutely on fire right now is our Hello Kitties Naruto collab with Sanrio, right? Shout out to Daphne for lining this one up. It's exclusive at Box Lunch, and then timed exclusive thing was available at Hot Topic. Yeah, it's amazing, and it's I want to say it's because of the psychographics really matched up. But one other thing that we discovered from our fans, and this is really important, you have to understand your fans. And the only reason why VIZ Media understands our fans, because we're on the ground level at the anime shows, exhibiting all the time, bringing the most relevant creators, the speakers, the panelists, and to having that one-on-one interaction.
Yeah.
So we know that Naruto fans, even though it's a shonen title, shonen means boy, by the way, there is a female underserved demo. So how do we really cater something unique from a different angle that's still on brand, but relevant to the community? And so mashing up characters when Hello Kitty's celebrating an anniversary as well, is just doing a co-birthday party. You know what I mean?
Everybody, more birthday parties.
Yeah, more birthday parties, right? But we really wanted to cater to an underserved demo.
Right.
You know, so
which is a common theme across brands, multiple brands that are seen as boy brands. You know, Star Wars, like you mentioned, was seen as a boy brand, you know, but now her universe is killing it, right? With all of her apparel, you know, Ashley Eckstein has done such a great job for 10 years now, by the way. So speaking of birthday parties, happy anniversary to her universe and Ashley Eckstein's hard work. But, you know, I'm a fangirl. There's a lot of people who are fangirls that identify with these properties, regardless of whether they're male, female, you know, these properties are for everyone, like you said, right? And so I think that's great that you were able to kind of recognize that and bring some more, you know, communities together and celebrate that.
Yeah, and we're going to continue doing that because for the most part, so in Japan, even though it's known as Shonen Jump, you know, the shonen title, they kind of just looked at this is a boys magazine, you know, not knowing who reads it. And on the state side, not just with our app readership, we, you know, I mentioned actually meeting the fans and seeing who actually shows up, but we discovered that it's a mix of all different types of people, all different races. So why target just the boy, this age group, right? Like, let's just party with everybody.
We got another chat. Sorry, one more chat here. Before we end the time, we want to get to any more upcoming collabs to finish the year that you can talk about. New Era cap or other sneakers. It sounds like it was a request for New Era caps and sneakers, by the way.
Okay, I'll write that down.
But any other ones you can talk about?
Yeah, I could talk about one more. So we have a Tokidoki Naruto collab. It was previewed.
I think we have a little sneak peek of that too.
Yeah, it was previewed during Tokidoki Con, which was was a virtual event during San Diego. That would have happened during San Diego Comic Con. But that's going to be available very shortly. That will probably round out the calendar year. But in spring of 2021, we have so much more impactful stuff. Like I can't even hold back my excitement. Like everything you loved with 2020, it's gonna get exponentially better.
Well, if you're taking requests, right? If you're taking those requests, my request is a collab with her universe. Done.
Ooh, okay, all right, all right.
I
would really say that in terms of the trend, what we're doing with mashing up with what we did with Sanrio and Tokidoki, that's where I see Naruto going.
Yeah.
Like I want to mash.
Create some suits.
Some suits?
Yeah. For men and women. Hey. Go to work, you open the lining.
Yeah.
There we go.
Well, you mean work from home suits, right? Because
I'm hopeful. We're going back to work. We're going out. We're going out to the world. We're not
only the blazer. Only the blazer, no pants, because no one looks below.
And with that, folks, that's how we're going to wrap up this in the pandemic collaboration between Alexander and myself. You know, we're really glad that you were able to stick with us through this hour and have some fun and hear some good information about Naruto and VIZ Media and Alexander. Where can we find you or more information about everything that you talked about? Where should we go on social media?
Sure. The easiest way to find me is on LinkedIn, just Alexander C. Lee. And my social is Mohawk Lex on Instagram. So that's so you're probably wondering why it's called Mohawk Lex, because for the past 10 years I had a mohawk. That was like kind of my thing. But the pandemic had me growing out my hair. I kind of look like 1970s Jackie Chan right now, which is why I'm wearing a hat. But VIZ Media, you can find us at VIZ Media on Instagram and Facebook, and also VizMedia.com. And for those that are huge manga fans, check out our Shonen Jump app, which you could read all the back catalog of all of our manga content, including Naruto.
Great. And I'm Anita Castellar, and you can find us here every week, Fangirl Friday Live. Fangirl_licensing is our profile on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You find us on LinkedIn as well. Keep following along. There's always such great content. Tune in next week for another great surprise. And, thanks again, Alexander. I really appreciate you, spending time with us and really having some fun with us. And come on back, everybody, and see us again next week on Fangirl Friday. Bye.
Stay safe, everyone.